In this one we're going to have a look at a special kind of method called a constructor. So in PHP and also in other object-oriented programming languages there are certain methods called magic methods, and the reason we refer to them as magic methods is that they do appear to be magic, but what actually happens is you don't call them directly, but when you take a specific action, when you perform a specific action in your code, the method actually gets called behind the scenes. So what does that mean? Let's actually go and start a new file, and a demonstration will make this nice and clear for you. So I'm going to call this new file constructors.php. Okay, and so in here I'm going to go back to that previous file, so the class methods one, and I'm just going to grab the whole of this class. So it's from where the word class starts right down to the bottom here where we have the closing curly bracket. So we'll then go back over to constructors and we'll just drop that in there. And what I'm also going to do is where we're setting default values for these at the top here, where we actually define the properties, just going to remove those default values, and then we'll go and create a constructor. You write magic methods just like any other kind of method, except a particular thing about them is that they start with double underscores. So far it's exactly the same as the method that we have there, the price as currency, and then it's underscore underscore and then the word construct. What do constructors do? Here's a definition from someone which I learned from. It says you'll use constructors to do whatever should always be done and done first when an object of this class is made. And the way I'm going to demonstrate this is to say that whenever we create an instance, an object of the product class, what we want to do is give values to the name and price properties. The way we can do that is to pass name and price variables, and then the way that we assign values to our properties is just like what we've done before, where we've used the object operator. So here what I'm going to say is this name equals name, and then I'll do the same for price. So this price equals price. And going back to what I said at the beginning, you do not call the constructor method direct. I don't call it the same way as what I did in the previous recording, where we're saying product and then calling price as currency on that. It gets called behind the scenes when you actually create a product. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you recall how we do that, it's very simple. What I'm going to do is say product equals new product, and when I hit tab in PHP Storm, you'll notice that it automatically adds these opening and closing parentheses. If I wasn't planning on passing any arguments to my constructor, I wouldn't actually need these. They're not mandatory, so I could do it like that. However, what we want to do is pass some variables to our product when we create it, and so the way we do that is like this, and that's where the parentheses come into play. And so here we're going to say name, that will be soap, and then price we'll say 100. So it's when we actually create an instance of a product like we're doing here, we pass in these variables or the values to the opening and closing parentheses, and that maps to these two arguments here in the construct method. And so now what we can do is we can go and access these methods and print them out just like we've done before. So if I say product name and then we go and run this, as you can see we see soap. And so let's change our name to something else. Just call it tires because I couldn't think of anything else up on the spot. If we go and print this, as you can see we now get tires. So like I did before, I'm just going to add the new line there, and let's do the same for the price. So we shall say print product price. As you can see we now get 100, and if I was to change this, I'll change it to 30. So what happens is that 30 is getting passed into the constructor there, the price variable, and then we're using that price variable to set the price property. So hopefully now that's becoming clear. Let's go and run this again. Okay, so now we get tyres and 30. Let's now finish off this one with a small challenge. So thinking back to what we did in the previous one on method arguments, what I'd like you to do is do a similar thing here. So you can check that work if you want to, but here's the steps. Give the constructor arguments default values. So as you can see there, we've given the price as currency default values. And then if you can remember what we covered in named arguments, I want you to use named arguments to only pass a price argument. So that means that if we've given the name and the price default values, you should be able to use named arguments to only pass a price. Pause me now and have a go at that. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go and give them both default values. So we'll go with soap, and then we'll go with price equals 100, and then use named arguments to only pass a price argument. So I'll remove both of these and I'll say price, and if you recall, we don't put the dollar in front, it's just price, then colon, and then the actual value. So the default we gave was 100 to make sure that know that we are actually setting a price here. We'll give it a different value, we'll give it a value of 200. So what we should see when we print these should be soap as the default name, but we're overriding the default price with the one which we are passing into the construct when we actually create the product, and that should be a value of 200. Let's go and run this, and so as you can see we get soap 200. So hope you had a go at that. If you didn't have a go with it or you weren't successful, just have a look at the previous videos if you want to, but we're going to be repeating this stuff quite a lot, so eventually after a few more videos it'll all make sense to you.